And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer, and we're going to be talking about the season finale of 1883. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. There's a lot of other content on the channel to check out. Leave a like, leave a comment, and yeah, full spoilers for the finale. Um, to me, that outside of one or two little things, it pretty much wrapped up how I thought it was going to, or at least where it clearly was heading in the last episode. So, we did in fact end up in a situation where Elsa was going to die. And so, they had hinted at, oh, wherever she dies, that is where we will live. Now, the only question I had is how the hell did that equate to getting to Montana? That was answered in the opening of the episode with learning that the group that they killed in the previous episode was tied to that area, and they were going to hunt after them and, eventually probably kill them. So they needed to go somewhere where nobody could find them, hence Montana. My general thought of the episode, I thought it was solid. I thought it was a great finale. I would be completely happy if there's a another season, which I think they said there will be. I think the episode was a hair too long. I would have shaved it down just a little bit. That's my one critique. We'll go into all the details in a moment, but guys, your initial thoughts um, about the finale.
Yeah, I think that it was. I mean, there's a couple parts that could have been trimmed down, but I think their goal of trying to wrap it up, because I don't think initially that they knew that they were going to get the whole season two. So, similar to some other shows we're talking about, I don't know that they intended it to be multiple seasons, so they wrapped it up pretty well. So I think they were just trying to close out all the stories, and that's the reason that it took a little longer. So I had zero issues with the length of the episode, and I know one of the comments, was upset because I kept giggling through the last episode, and I had equally a shitty week this week, but um, I've come to the determination that it was the new cowboy who was kind of left at the beginning of this episode when they all decided to disperse, that maybe his over the topness gave me the giggles. But this episode, man, it pulled at the heartstrings, and really, because I have daughters, and it really hurt. But I enjoyed the story quite a bit.
Yeah, it was a good finale. I'll say that much. Yeah, overall it was good, and like the journey and even the way the group splits, because I mean things were coming to a head, so that was definitely expected. Made sense that at some point they just go like, no, we're gonna stop listening to you, even though they have no idea what they're doing. Um, like I'd say the only part I really didn't like is I'd say would probably be the end sequence with Elsa, after she died.
I couldn't agree a little bit with that. I don't, in a weird way, I don't like that she had narration. I would have shifted it to a parent, or you wrap to me the tree scene. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's the tragedy there. She's gone. She's having her thoughts. She's with her father. She has that little moment. I understand now. Blah blah blah. And then she's gone. I didn't need an extra little piece of her, like, oh, I'm happy in heaven, or whatever. Um, I can agree with that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was a little hokey to me. Yeah, like you said, the whole section where she's happy in her ideal version of heaven and everything. He's like, yeah, we don't need that. The story's over. It would have been cool if, like you said, we shifted to a parent, or if we shifted from to Shae doing the rest of the narration, and then the narration and the episode ends where his story ends. That would have been better to me.
What are your thoughts on that, Spencer?
I don't disagree at all. I mean, that was my gripe last week, was the narration parts. There's a lot of the narration I felt was over the top. It took, and even last week when I was laughing at stuff, her narration at the end took me out of that scene that had great acting between her and her dad. It ended up being, it almost did, it almost, I don't want to say desensitizes, but it takes away from the great acting when it's an over the top monologue over top of it afterwards. And that's my beef with it, is you have these great scenes, this great acting, and then doing the monologue over top every single time. Like I get to kind of, wrap the story up, or basically like an epilogue, or to do like a time jump, which they did several times, because they mentioned at the end of this episode it was 6 months. So you had 10 episodes that took 6 months. So I get some of the narration to kind of catch, the audience up with what's going on. But overall, the monologue over the top of her riding out to see Sam, I wish they would have shown that before she died instead of afterwards, because I think that would have been a better placement, because it's as she's perishing, that's what she feels like is her heaven.
Like in Gladiator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Yes. That's a great example, actually. And then you have that scene that cuts in between, like his friend and different. Yeah, I think that does it better. I really think I would have cut that last piece out. You do everything else, which we'll talk about more in a second, everybody who's listening. And I would have had her mom visiting the grave. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because we cut off, Margaret gets to say goodbye, sort of, and then we don't see her for the last 15 minutes. I wouldn't have done that. I would have, she was like, I'm going to look, I'm going to go there every day. And I really think, yeah, why we didn't get the Duttons. We didn't get John. We didn't get, James was with her when she passed, but I would have, when we got the little highlight reel, which, okay, this is what happened to all these people. I agree, that tacked on ending that wasn't necessary. I would have preferred it be the Duttons, maybe them having breakfast and then Margaret going out to the tree or whatever. Because also, what really bummed me out, or just made me think, because Sam legitimately is going to be waiting for her and she's not coming. Show me that,
Yeah.
And I thought that's what they were doing initially.
I did too.
And she came riding over the horizon, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, that confused me for a second. I was like, wait, what are we doing here? What's this? It would have made more sense. It would have been clearer if, like you said, they intertwined it with the scene of her dying, and like you said, them following up with Margaret and the family trying to go through the motions, and then with Sam, waiting for someone who's never coming back, and and then you end with Shae and James and well, shit. What's the other guys? And Charlie. We see what Charlie's up to, I guess.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Why was there not a shot of, because we're building, obviously this is building towards Yellowstone. Why is there not a shot of like Margaret sitting there with John, the small boy, and saying, this is where Elsa rests. This land is a monument to her, and we will protect it for, the rest of our life. Sort of a line to set up the idea of the Dutton bloodline dominating that area. I think that would have been a nice little touch.
I think because they found out they were getting a season 2 and they just cut it.
They were like, you'll see them plenty.
Or are they getting a season 2?
Yeah, it's already on IMDb. Episode 1 of season 2 is already. It didn't get announced timeline wise, but it is on there.
Okay.
Going into that, because like I said, we'll highlight all the different characters' endings, but when they've discovered there's a group of Native Americans who take in Elsa and sort of prolong her life a couple days. They help her out, and they're the ones that tell James, hey, there's this piece of land. It's beautiful. It's great. We call it paradise. I think you would do well there. It's tough in the winters. It's brutal, but if you plan ahead, you should be able to do well. But in 7 generations, my people will take it. Come back. And I loved all the little dialogue, because I'm like, okay, that's sort of, foreshadowing, alluding to Yellowstone. And also he's like, hey, if my people want to hunt there, you let him, and he was just like, yeah, that I'm down, cool. So that I guess could be stuff in the second season. But all that stuff, yeah. Thoughts on that and sort of the little connection or setup for Yellowstone.
Yeah, I thought that was that was a clear nod that someone who's never seen Yellowstone, like, okay, this is a nod to the modern show. Clearly, this was a conflict at some point, in the series, that there was a conflict over this promise where they're like, hey, yeah, you promised that you would give this back at this point. And I'm sure the main guy's like, the hell I did. My family might have promised that, but I never promised that. It's mine now, or maybe they reached a compromise. I don't know.
He's
Either
like,
way.
oh, sorry. He's like, they're in the ground that I own.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that part was, when I talk about the hokey acting, there's a couple different actors that, ruin particular scenes for me. And the way that he carried himself through that scene made me like that scene less. I think that the dialogue itself, and I think the intended, like you guys said, the nod to Yellowstone, you could see that, but to me, I don't know if the dialogue was just poorly written or if it was just poorly acted. I just did not care.
You didn't like something about the character didn't really get you, huh? Yeah.
I don't know.
Love that dude. I like this little headdress thing. It was cool.
Yeah.
He was playing it a little I don't know. I know what you mean. Like it was a little more playful of a performance, but
he was
it felt like a teacher trying to like do a Thanksgiving portrayal of Indians, and I was just like, I don't like this.
Well, he was so matter-of-factly about everything and so unfazed about everything that was going on that it felt like a PG Tarantino character. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you need a doctor? I'll get you a doctor. She's gonna die, right? And just all these things like we need a place to settle. Like, oh, well, you can just settle right over there. There's this land, it's basically paradise. And it's just like, this is the man with all the solutions for some reason. You just happen to run into this guy. This is the whole story of Yellowstone, essentially.
Now I know why I like him. He was in Dances with Wolves.
Was he?
Yeah.
That dude's been in lots of stuff.
Yeah.
I recognized his face immediately. I had to IMDb it because I was like, I know this guy.
You're gonna have to name some things for me later because I didn't recognize him.
He was in. He's done a lot of television as well. But yeah, Dances with Wolves. He had a little spot there.
He was in. I was just naming stuff on Nick at Night.
Oh yeah, he was in some episodes of Northern Exposure. No, Spencer was going to make some shit up.
I was 100%.
Like, remember he was in Star Wars? He wasn't.
He was a member of Black Flag.
Yeah.
You remember him from that?
Let's see here. Oh, he was in one of the Twilights.
Oh,
a couple of them.
I was too busy laughing my way through that to remember anybody.
He was in some Longmire episodes.
That's actually where I thought I remembered him from because I watched the first couple seasons of it.
Oh shit, he's going to be in the Last of Us show.
Well, he's getting work, but yeah, I thought his performance was.
And he does some voice stuff in like Red Dead Redemption. Too.
Yeah. Well, shit, westerns are just his thing then.
Oh yeah, dude. So moving on. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? The happy ending. The one person who we were terrified was going to have a horrible ending. Thomas has a nice little family situation. It works out. It just sort of works out. Clearly, if there's a second season, that has to be a part of it. What happens with that whole group. But I was legitimately about halfway in the episode. I was like, okay, nothing bad can happen, right? I was sort of like, because I kept waiting and waiting, and then I was like, no, I don't think they're gonna throw any curveball at us. So I was like, holy shit, he's gonna have a happy ending.
Yeah, they didn't pull a Walking Dead on us and just kill Thomas for no apparent reason. It was surprising, and I guess there was that dread there, and it was almost like I guess the same kind of dread you got from a lot of pictures of this case, because you expect it. Thomas is oftentimes, his character would be the target. You know, he's not, he's not one of your main cast. He's sort of in the main cast, but not really. He's not Shae or anything. And let's face it, much like The Walking Dead, there's a certain demographic that is seen as disposable in these pictures more than others, and just that whole family unit, just seemed prime for some sort of tragedy in this also, just because it felt like either Thomas was going to go, or his wife was going to go, or something was going to happen to the kids, and they wouldn't have the kids.
Yeah. They even gave him a little time to, talk about the family dynamic and the kids and dealing with the tragedy of their father dying and all that. He was building him a house, beautiful land. He was the only character that like truly everything worked out.
You think he talked to him about that? He's like, don't you think people are expecting me to get it? Me and this family unit seems a little on the nose. Like, but I did expect something to happen to like one of them. But I guess because things did end so cleanly, and he talks about a lot of, like he offhandedly mentions like certain horrible things that happened in his past, but never goes into detail. Like I'd imagine, like you said, if they did a sequel, they want to explore that a little bit. They want to explore, how war hardened him so much, because we didn't really touch on that too much. We saw flashbacks with Shae and with James, but never with Thomas.
One, I think too, when the way that they built Thomas up, it would be a great way to carry on for season 2. I think that the character living in that area.
Are you drumming?
I was going to say, I wasn't.
And I think it's Larry.
No, it's the dog who has decided to attack my microphone.
Is she on the table?
Yeah, she's on the table now.
Okay. I was like, well, maybe he's tapping something. I don't know. How is she up there? She's huge.
She's messing with like the legs. Like I moved her away.
Oh.
She decided like, no, that's where I want to be right now.
All right, sorry, Spencer.
It's okay. I think that, when I started thinking of what I was going to say next, because I forgot.
You're like,
Oh,
yeah. Okay, go ahead. I was about to make up something.
I know. No, but I think Thomas's story going forward could carry on to a season 2, and I think that is a great way to carry it on, because it could have just ended, but you have Shae, the Duddons, and you have, what was his name? Jeremiah?
Joseph.
Joseph, there you go. That's going to build his giant German city in the middle of Oregon. And then
Montana.
You also,
He's with him.
I didn't know how far he kept. I don't know if he made it or if he's still in Wyoming, or I didn't know.
No, he stayed with him. He was the one person who stayed with him, because remember, they weren't gonna. Everyone else dipped and they all got killed, and then Shae basically told him no, screw you, and it was I can't remember her name, Thomas's girlfriend, who was like, well, I'll drive their stuff, and so he's with them wherever they're at.
Yeah,
it's Oregon with Thomas. I just didn't know where he ended up, because I didn't see the little.
Oh, that's a good point. You're right. I'm wrong. No. Yeah, because I'm assuming in the spring they went back. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure where old Joseph ended up, but I would really like to know the backstory of that German town that he created with the cobblestone streets and the glue vine and all that stuff. And just so everybody's aware, I'm not talking shit. I love all the things I just mentioned, but they, it, you have his
You grew
story.
up in Germany.
Yeah. But you have,
Me too.
it's so good, but you have his story. So you could carry on, what either town he started or whatever. You have where Thomas is now, and then the Duttons. So you could have kind of a 3-part Game of Thrones where they start interacting with each other, whether it's through trading or I don't know. But I would be interested to see all of those characters carry forward, but they didn't need to. And I think that was the great thing about this season is that nothing necessarily needed to be carried on, but it would be still cool to see all of them.
Yeah, and if they're not too far from each other, it could be the sort of thing where, they're not the only ones who have decided to, settle in Montana, obviously. So maybe they're having some trouble and, just having no one else to go to, they kind of band together to secure what they have. Like, but and so you could get all these characters back potentially if they're close enough, unless, like you said, once spring hit, unless Shae took him out there with him.
Yeah, and now I want to complain a little bit more about the ending because I didn't even piece that together until you just said it, Spencer. They weren't clear on that. You're right. Did because clearly the Duttons settled in Montana, but did the other group go back to Oregon? Like it doesn't. I don't know. Like were they all in Montana or were because they're separate and every yeah, I don't know. They didn't say.
Yeah, and it's I mean it's not super frustrating. It's just like, well, damn, would have been nice to have.
Made it a little clearer.
Yeah,
Yeah, because were they building a community in that area and they were all there, or did they go back? I don't because we did see that there clearly was some movement because Shae does make it to the coast, um, and it was a year later. So yeah, I don't know.
And that's what I thought until until we saw Shae at the coast, that they were all one community. And then I started noticing that, you didn't see anybody interacting with each other. So I'm like, okay, I guess everybody just kind of split afterwards. I don't know why you'd want to live in isolation like that in this time period. I think I'd want at least a few people around. Uh, at least if I was, what's the German guy's name again?
Joseph.
Yeah, if I was Joseph, I'd definitely want some people around.
Yeah,
Given the circumstance.
yeah. I mean, so yeah. I don't know. Um, well, Shay's ending was basically what he said it was going to be at the very beginning. So, I thought it was a solid resolution of the character. It worked for me. Um, he said he was going to make it to the coast, and that was it. And that was it. Don't really have much to say. There was a couple of really solid scenes with him, James, talking about, he had lost a daughter and um, some of the stuff in the beginning when he was sort of bucking up on that soldier, Uh, but yeah, any thoughts on the ending of Shae?
it to me it wasn't. We talked about some ridiculous, over the top kind of scenes. I didn't feel that one was poorly done. I felt that. Well, I think part of that is because of old Sam. He he just plays an old grizzled like Western kind of character better than anybody, and he's been doing it for years. But I
I
think
didn't I didn't love the hummingbird, though, I will say.
I don't know. That part
It
made me
was it
giggle.
was CG. I didn't like a little CG hummingbird, but yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, but to me, or I mean, hummingbirds are everywhere. But when I'm thinking of the beach, I don't know that there's a lot of hummingbirds hanging out on the.
That's a
They
good
should,
point.
they
That's a
should
great point.
like
I didn't even think of that.
they should made like a butterfly, or like a dolphin jumping in the distance, like
Oh,
anything other than a hum. Like
I hope the
I don't know.
production team was arguing about that.
Like I've seen so many hummingbirds at the beach.
It's like I've never seen one hummingbird.
Like
It's
I've
fine,
only seen them when my feet are in sand.
When I'm walking on the beach in Oregon, that is the only place I see hummingbirds. Yeah, that part was silly, but to me, that Sam Elliott didn't have anything to do with that. And even him, he did a great job making you see the connect that he was making himself. But I mean, yeah, the hummingbird part. As soon as I saw it, I was like, hummingbird on the beach.
It was just one of those like, yeah. Well, I was like, why? Because then I started thinking back. I was like, was there a line where he was just like, oh, my wife loved hummingbirds, and I couldn't remember. Like I was thinking that I was like,
They're her favorite.
maybe there was a line I just don't remember. Maybe
so you so he released a hummingbird on the beach before.
He had it in his pocket the whole time.
He had a little hummingbird. He kept the whole time. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's some symbolism there. Maybe in Yellowstone, I don't know. Anybody in the comments, if there's something connecting with the hummingbird, let me know. But yeah, I thought it was fine, and like I said, it was very much what he set out to do. Like he had made the decision that he didn't want to be around anymore, and his last goal was to make it to the beach. So he did. Anything? We pretty much went through everyone who's alive. I thought it was sad. Talking, we were making fun of some of the narration stuff, but one area where I thought it was solid was when the two cowboys were just like, all right, we're heading out. And, she's like, all right. And they had their little interaction. And then she was like, I wonder what will become of them. And like in her mind, she first mentions all these sort of positive things like, oh, maybe they'll do this and that. But then she says, but that's probably not what's going to happen. They're going to end up dead. And that there probably is no bright future for them. And it was sort of, they don't show anything, we don't see what happens to them, but there is sort of that uncomfortable, like, yeah, they're probably.
But that part pissed me off. And I only say that because, she's talking about all these things. To me, that's a realistic thing that probably happened. Like they probably didn't make it. But for her to talk about this, her ending, how she got to, I don't know, ride a horse and there was never again was there any storms. It was her, that she's the only lightning. I was like, oh my fucking God. But it pissed me off that she thinks that she gets to have the happy ending because it's her narrating it, but everybody else's life is shit after this. Like,
dude, this is Elsa's world, man.
Like I said, the narration is what pissed me off because I felt like there were so many good scenes and so much good acting that little narration part did take me out of it. But like I said, I think if they moved that little end sequence, if they would have had less narration and just moved that into her dying and then her just being like, this was what I've always wanted. This is what would make me happy. And then she perishes. Like, I felt the narration was too much, but.
Well, I thought it would have been fine if they cut it the way that you said earlier, where, you're getting those scenes as she's dying. In fact, it would have, it may have in fact been a lot better, it enhanced it a bit because it's like, okay, yeah, that's what she's hoping for herself, but we see her here dying and, well, that's her idea of what she hopes happens, but we don't know. Death is final for her as it is and everybody else in this show. We're just, getting an idea of what her hopes and dreams are for this, because this is all she has left.
Yeah, I that ending, I just think it should have ended with her dad. Like I didn't need another. I didn't need any more dialogue from her. Definitely. It also bummed me out now that it wasn't a journal, because I was hoping that all this was like written in a journal or something, and I'm like, no, it's just her inner monologue. I was like, okay, um, sure. So what would we don't rate stuff here? That's not typically what we do, but as a series, I think it's solid. I think it may have been an episode too long. We talked about this a couple episodes back that maybe they could have tightened it up a little bit. Maybe this should have been an 8 episode series. Um, would I rewatch it? Maybe if I was watching it with somebody who hadn't
Mm-hmm.
seen it, I could see rewatching it. There's a couple episodes, the tornado episode, I could see just rewatching that for the hell of it.
Yes.
So there's definitely some really strong episodes. If a season 2 comes out, I will. But they're saying it will. Will I watch it? Absolutely. Will this get me to watch Yellowstone? Maybe. I don't know yet. So all in all, I think it's a solid sort of B plus series if I had to rate it. Your final sort of thoughts on what this series as a whole, strengths, weaknesses.
Yeah, like I said,
Go ahead, Larry.
well, like you said, it was a pretty solid series. It was a good watch. You know, it wasn't perfect, but it was good television. And like I have a very hard time watching bad television, even if it's for this. And it was mostly well acted. Overall, enjoyable watch. I never thought, it gave me something I didn't know I wanted, and I always like that from a series. I didn't know I wanted an Oregon Trail TV series, and and that was a surprise. So, like, I'll give it a solid 4.5 out of 5. I like.
I was gonna equate it to like food or candy or something, just because everybody else did something different. So I was, but
I did do that to stir the pot a little.
Four Skittles out of
5 M&Ms. But
2 Skittles and a Kit Kat.
when we talk about things that I didn't like about the show, most of it was the narration and some of the over the top sequences. And that's not, like I said, not a slight on the show as a whole, but there's a couple parts where I was just like, I did not like that. But I think that when we talk about the show as a whole, I think that it did a great job being true to a Western. And I love Westerns. I mean, we've all talked about it 1,001 times, and I've talked with Brian about it, Jesus, billions of times, that one of my favorite movies of all time is Tombstone. So Sam Elliott and Tombstone and all of this was things that I was looking forward to when I first turned it on. But I think that there's, the things like the narration was too much. There's a couple things that I felt they could have did away with and still been a great show. But all in all, I still really enjoyed the Western aspects of the show. So I would give it 2 Val Kilmers out of Top Gun. I don't
know. But yeah, solid show. Like I said, I know the Yellowstone universe apparently is getting bigger. I think there's going to be other shows that take place within it. The ratings are insane. Like I had read an article recently, Yellowstone itself's ratings are just unheard of. Like nobody pulls these kind of numbers current day on cable. And I know 1883 was very successful with its premiere episode on TV, and then I believe that it's streaming pretty well. I don't know, Paramount as a whole is not doing the greatest in terms of streaming services, but I think it's doing really well for itself on the platform. So there's going to be a lot more stuff like this in this universe, and I'm for it. So that's sort of my last thoughts. Y'all got any final word?
know.
No, just looking forward to seeing where they go with season 2. And as we mentioned before, if they Fargoed it and we're getting the same year, different story, I'm good with that also.
Yes. Well, we appreciate everyone listening to us on this 10-episode journey. Check out other content on the channel. Like I said, we're doing Raised by Wolves. Check out our Righteous Gemstone season finale review. Snowfall is back, and it's as good as ever. Check out those reviews. Big Sky's also back. Check out those reviews.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.